Hey, what's up? It's your boy F7. We're here for the podcast again with Lisa over here. So, yeah, today we got a very special episode. We're talking about three major topics today. We're talking about number one, we're talking about some things that happened in Guangzhou. We're talking about number two, we're talking about tag team and some of our upcoming plans. And number three, we're talking about the latest news about AOC, also known as Alexandria Cortez, and recent controversies with some things she's been talking about. So, what's up? Let's get started. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay, what do we want to start with first? What's the top of the hour?
Well, the first thing was the Guangzhou thing, right?
Yeah, Guangzhou. Hey, Pope, out there, hey, everybody out there in YouTube land, you need to contact the African consulates for them to contact their people in Guangzhou and also in China to make sure that the Chinese government is protecting the African diaspora, whether they're Black people from Australia, Europe, Africa, particularly Nigeria and Ghana. I'm hearing that people are being kicked out of their apartments, that they're being not let into grocery stores to get food, not being allowed into hospitals or hotels. So, and it's not for something that they've done. It's almost like a pogrom. They're being accused of bringing the virus, the COVID-19 virus, back into China, which is crazy. There's all kinds of strange hysteria going on there right now, but they are basically targeting the Black community there. And when I say Black, I mean the African diaspora, whether you are Black and come from, Australia, New Zealand, have an American passport, have a Canadian passport, European or African. Like, you're a Black person, you're getting fired and you're getting kicked out of wherever you are. And so this is really bad, and we need to, basically sound the alarm and say, hey, this isn't right. The authorities need to step in and actually protect the people and make sure that, if they do have to leave, that they are given the ability to get their things, to get the money that they've saved in Chinese banks, and to be able to leave. I hear that a lot of flights have been canceled and it's very difficult to travel. So
we were talking about this earlier, and I was like a little bit puzzled about it because I hear that China and Africa have so much business together.
They do.
So
that's the reason why we need to call upon the African consulates and to say, hey, you need to be there and lobby for your people, because this is the problem. Apparently, I've been listening to podcasts and stuff where people have said, I look African, but I have an Australian passport, and I sound like an American. So I look African, have an Australian passport, sound like an American, and I went to China on a basketball scholarship, and I'm being interrogated for 9 hours at the airport. Finally, after 9 hours, I lose it, because I'm tired of this shit and being targeted. And then the authorities come and I get arrested. So what does he do? He calls the Australian consulate and they make it right.
All right.
So
that's cool.
He needed someone. Do you understand? He needed someone to basically lobby on his behalf. And that's something that would actually get some traction and notice in the Chinese government within their system.
And last time we had spoken, I was actually surprised by how many people from the African diaspora there are in China. You gave me some really large numbers, and I said, "What?" Yeah.
Supposedly, Guangzhou says they have over 400,000.
400. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah,
but it's a city of millions and millions and millions.
Yeah.
But imagine it's like you were saying that's the same kind of. That's the same.
Yeah, I think in New York City, the number of Koreans is supposed to be out of city, 8 million. It's 500,000, which is 1 out of every 8. Yeah,
right,
that seems kind of high to me. But yeah, if you have 400,000 out of millions,
a similar ratio.
It could be a quarter. It could be
just overnight.
Yeah.
They kicked out every Korean in New York and said, you brought the virus here. You brought the virus here. It kicked you out of your apartment, wouldn't let you get into grocery stores to get food, wouldn't let you go to a bank to get your money out, wouldn't let you into hotel rooms or anything. That's what I'm talking about. This is actually what's going on right now. It's this that's an equivalent thing. That would be horrible, and people would be aghast. And right now, no one's doing anything about it because it's not for it's being like kind of covered over, and the only people that are really raising alarms are the expat Black community.
Well,
and
okay, China also kind of has a history, right, of just like assimilating other ethnicities. Like they're doing that thing to the Uyghurs out there, you know what I mean? Like, and if you have religion, they just try to erase that religion, you know what I mean? And the cultural things are just kind of seen as a interesting abnormality, but that's not really part of their main focus in China, you know what I mean? So it probably is passing by easier over there because they have a history of that.
I actually hear that they're actually I've heard certain things about that and certain things be true, but then I've heard other people tell me actually that's not true. They, there's a lot of there's a lot of openness. This whole thing about the Uyghurs, it's bullshit and da 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 da.
Well, the thing is, right, if you look at the history,
that's hard to know. I just know that people themselves have been calling into this, this show and saying that this is what's happening here, and people from that place. And so there's another podcast I listen to called The Melanated Files. Okay. And there's another, and he also does a podcast called The Black Experience in Japan. And he talks about being Black in Japan and interviews different Black people in Japan, and they talk about their experience there and what it was like. Many of them have married Japanese people and have settled to live, and or some of them that come for many different reasons. And then he also interviews different Black people all around Asia. But this is what he did a live podcast. Because he was alarmed by what's happening, and he was saying that some people were saying, oh, they're racist, and he's like, come on, like America is so racist that there's so many people there, like people, and that which is true. He goes, that it's a lot less in Asia. He goes, but there are other reasons and other things that people think. I just think that there's a hysteria that's brewing now. We need to kind of shake people by their emotional lapels and like a little bit like, hey, snap out of it. Everybody's going through this. You guys. I guess in other places people are pointing, to the Chinese, which is horrible, and even other Asians. And then also people are. Who knows? Maybe in China themselves, people are actually pointing to the people from Wuhan, we don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people say it.
Exactly. We don't know the internal finger pointing that's going on within there. All I'm saying is that this is happening here, and we need to intervene immediately to try to make it stop. And none of the Black folks there necessarily want to go home. Maybe some of them do.
Yeah, and all the pointing at each other is really the disease could have started anywhere. It's not like any one region's fault.
And the interesting thing is, when you listen to a lot of things, and when you listen and you talk and you actually get into it, you find that it's looking like it did start in different areas at the same time, and certain things don't make sense, like how a different strain could have developed in Italy so quickly, the Italians have a strain there that's really virulent.
Yeah, the distribution pattern is weird. Yeah.
Yes, the distribution pattern is very strange. It's odd. So, I don't know if there's this.
But I just don't trust anything anymore. Even GMOs, we're not allowed to know if our food is GMO. Exactly. What can you trust? You can't. They say this disease started here, there. Do you trust the medical establishment? I sure don't. They didn't protect us from pharmaceutical drugs. Exactly. Now we're supposed to trust them and they say the disease is like this. I already don't believe them. They already proven liars.
Exactly, and people are asking well, then why did it clear up so fast there in Asia? The reason why is because they dealt with SARS, and so they already had a protocol in place to deal with something that was really virulent. And so, they snapped into it right away, into that protocol. We don't have, I don't want to say culture because it's not necessarily culture, but we don't have a regular thing that we do, that we wear masks. People wear masks in China all the time.
Wait, so if it's
same
maybe
thing in
right?
Taiwan. Same thing in other areas of Asia where so it's not a big deal to ask someone to wear a mask over there.
So if we say to ourselves, right,
everybody's all like
yeah,
up in their feelings,
yeah.
because they've been asked to cover their mouth or just, it's crazy.
So let's go down this pathway of, let's put on our tin hats and all that. Let's go down this pathway, right? It might be true, it might not be true, but let's take a look at what's going on here. If it's possible that the reasons that they say the Guangzhou thing is going on, right? The reason why they're targeting Guangzhou, maybe it's not because actually, the African diaspora down there actually has this disease. Maybe there's an economic reason, or maybe they have some other political reason for trying to do this move, or maybe it's just some type of knee-jerk reaction by people on the ground, that are just racist. But maybe there's something else going on. What do you think about it?
Well, from some of the things that people have said, that most of the people there are not, they aren't female, they're male, and
that was a huge mistake. Yeah,
there may be this sense that it's already there's a lot of competition for women. They say there's a saying that more wars are fought over women and cattle than anything else. So that there's not that many women in Asia, comparatively, and so that immigrants who are coming in are mostly male. They're basically fighting over resources, and they consider maybe women to be one of those things. So
they're using that as an excuse to get rid of foreigners.
And from what I've heard in Africa, there are so many Chinese in Africa. There's tons and tons of Chinese in Africa, and they're intermarrying because there's no women to be found. I don't want to say there's no women to be found in China. That's not true.
Yeah.
But there's just so many. India, it's the same thing.
That was nothing that surprised me, because I've seen some of the, I've also heard about some of the different Chinese, how they work in other countries, like in Africa and stuff like that. And a lot of times they'll import their own workers. So why are all these workers from Ghana so many numbers, right? And when I watch movies of China or documentaries, right, I would expect there to be with those numbers, for there to be ethnic enclaves of large black communities within China. There's 400,000 people in one city. So where is the footage? I believe it's possible, and maybe they're not really advertising, or maybe it just hasn't really been out there or popularized. But that's a very interesting subculture to see what's going on there.
It is a very interesting subculture. I'd like to get into it a little bit more.
They're probably cool as hell. Yeah. When
I see this stuff, I see I follow a lot of expat stuff, or a lot of returnees, and so people, there's a big movement now for people. I almost want to call it, I don't want to call it big, but there's almost like a neo Marcus Garvey thing happening right now, where black people's look, we're getting educated, and then we're bringing our talents to other places.
Just for people who don't know who Marcus Garvey is, he was a revolutionary slave. Yeah. So some people don't know.
People who don't know who Marcus Garvey is, he's a guy who he was in New York. He's a New Yorker, and basically during the kind of Harlem Renaissance was big into bringing a movement of black people back to Africa. Unfortunately, they went to Liberia, where unfortunately the American blacks started to oppress the people there, and so that's its own mess. That's its own mess. I'm talking about that. There's this sort of Pan-Africanism that seems to be budding out of this, and that people are going back, but it's very interesting. I don't want to see the African countries start to expel the Asians. That's what Idi Amin did to the Asians there. He expelled the Asians, and there was a lot of Indians also in South Africa, and they left and went to India. That was the whole movement. Gandhi was South African, and he basically he was his own Marcus Garvey, and brought a bunch of people to India, with him. So it's very interesting to me, these movements were happening in the 30s, And we all know what happened after the, during the 30s. That was like during this depressionary period. And then after that, we had a period of a lot of war. So we really need to be careful here. We need to be careful how we handle this. And we need to be careful, like, there's, this sort of like, I get the whole nationalist movement thing and people having like a kind of sense of pride and want to do it. We just need to be careful how we do it, and that it's not in an exclusive way, that we're pushing away allies and we're pushing away community, and that hopefully this virus is teaching us, what it's like to do without, what it's like to be isolated, what it's like to the countries that Americans sanction and bomb and, and make people refugees, because that's what basically we're experiencing now. This is how other people in the world live, because we've made them live that way. So, yeah.
I always like more information. That was actually very informative, and it was very cool to have that conversation with you, not just today, but before, and to learn more about the situation that's going on over there, because, I just learned more about China myself, even. Yeah.
Because we don't, I don't want this to be happening to the people in China, and I don't want there to be a backlash of the Chinese people in Africa. I don't want to see that, or anywhere else. So, like, we need to, like, contact these people, make sure that they're protected, make sure, if they're being made to leave or their contracts are being broken, that things are being made equitable for them, if they do have to leave, and that they're able to get their money and their savings out, because most people have saved, that's why they're there, or they're there working to send back remittances, or they're mostly professionals and students.
Have you heard about the Chinese housing crisis?
No, I've just heard that things are really expensive there, and the prices aren't coming down, even though there's a huge glut.
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about like the housing crisis, and like actually like I have some friends that like worked at Christie's and stuff like that, so they were dealing with all the Chinese millionaires, stuff like that, right? So there's some interesting phenomenon that's going on. First of all, the Chinese government, they there's a lot property in China, you're not allowed to own the land, but you rent the land, so you have like a lease from the government for like maybe 10 years or something. And those leases sell for big amounts because people love, Chinese people, they love property. You get what I mean? So the thing is that they actually built cities on top of cities, right, that are just empty. And they sold a lot of these empty apartments to people because they're supposed to be a sure thing. You get what I mean? That's a huge housing bubble in China. Now, a lot of people understand that China has huge corruption issues, has huge, they know there's literally cities built that are just uninhabited, that are just like literally rotting away. That's not smart. So the thing is that a lot of Chinese people believe that the economy is going to go under, right? A very Chris Hedges type of analysis, and they're actually trying to take their money and they're trying to turn it into other things. That's why I see Chinese people eagerly buying things up everywhere, because they're worried that their own currency is going to become devalued greatly. And actually, if you look at it, right, like that actually sets up really well with the United States too. The United States was doing all these dumb things, playing these, bailout things, you know what I mean? They're playing games with the money, yeah? The money's disappearing somewhere, and now all of a sudden there's some kind of manufactured crisis that involves everybody, allowing them all to make a concerted move that, keeps us all in our houses and allows us to have it. It's very, very, very weird.
In one area. Usually it just happens in one area. The fact is that they're doing it like planet-wide is like fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even sure if this would ever happen again in the world. Like, when is it ever happen?
I always felt,
It was only in one specific area. It wasn't all over the place.
I always knew that, like, we were kind of like, as working class people, we were kind of like outclassed by like the upper class. But I always was surprised to see that they didn't. I always was like expecting something bigger from them. I mean, they have the best and brightest minds. And then a lot of the times, like, you look at like Hillary Clinton, she's like kind of like a clown. It's kind of like a very caricature. It doesn't seem realistic that the smartest people, that's the best that they could come up with. Something like this diabolical plan is something I could really put to the very top. You get what I mean? And the way they're really cashing out, the way that people aren't really, I think that it's just common sense that how wrong this stuff is. But, the control of the media has been completed. It's insane. That's why, programs like us are necessary.
That's a good segue into the AOC thing, because
Yeah.
that's the reason why everybody just, you know, falling in and voting for that.
This is also an interesting development as well. Yes.
This was a massive ripoff of the taxpayer. All of these, basically, it's just, they're basically, you know, the Fed just saying, like, we'll buy all the stocks, we'll buy all the things, we'll buy all the things. And the audacity of the guy from Boeing saying, you better give us money or we're going to fire everybody. It's like, fuck you, you're fired.
Someone should just smack him in the face immediately.
Yeah. The nerve. And then what did they do in the last bailout? The last time they were bailed out, they used the vast majority of the money to buy back their own stock. They didn't even use it to make their planes safer, hire more employees, do any kind of expansion, no capital investments. They bought back their own stock. So basically they manipulated their own stock to be higher. That's it.
But that's really right.
With taxpayer money.
But that's what,
you.
As a capitalist organization, right? Not blaming capitalism, but that's what their goal, their job, is not to do what's right by the world. Their job is to make a profit. You get what I mean? So
I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be nationalized.
Exactly. And it's because of those reasons.
When they say give us money, they're saying nationalize.
Because of these reasons, because of the fact that, you know, these companies, right, or just anybody in general could create something that's harmful, you need to have some type of regulation. But we can see that the government's really coming up short in this particular path. Yeah.
You know, many countries. I mean, I think that I'm not sure if American Airlines was like government owned at one point.
Yeah, there has to be some balance, but it's all going like in one direction.
Many
not good.
countries have their own airline. Many countries do. I think.
And a lot of times those airlines are actually like sub-funded by the governments too. Like I know Korean Air is heavily subsidized by the Korean government.
So what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Everybody knows
it can be good, it can be bad. It depends.
Airlines suck.
It all
The
all
best
depends on
airlines
implementation.
are like Cathay Pacific from Hong Kong, or Qatar, which is like number one in the world, which comes from Qatar, like Qatar Airways, or Emirates, which is from Dubai. They're like flying coach on them is like flying.
But you know, I think that these airline companies also have a lot of government contracts. They're moving things for the government.
Right,
you know what I mean? So they're not just like supposedly they're private. They're not really that private at all already.
No, they're not.
But they're just another way, right? Anything the government's involved in, they find a way to scooch the money out of.
And actually, you know that's funny. That's a good point that you say that, because the passenger part is actually a small part, what they usually use. And that's the reason why those cheapy airlines, those little cheap airlines that they have in Europe, all over Europe, like EasyJet and all that, they make their money selling the cargo space. That's
exactly.
They make their money like with basically in the mails and cargo space. That's where they make their money.
Yeah.
And so, and then the above part is
extra,
just like a little side thing. It's like the reason why they can do it so cheap, because you know it's they're basically
and that's why it's good to know all the angles. You know what I mean, to really understand what's the real game going on here, like what's up. You know what I mean? So the thing is that with this whole Guangzhou thing, like it seems too specific for me, right? That one area. You know what I mean? Like something else seems like I'm suspicious. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, you know.
But we'll see. If you guys know more about it, put it in the comments.
This
put it in the comments. Maybe the web knows more. Yeah.
Well, this is according to everybody. I wouldn't have thought this, because I would only, you know, I don't know the area too well. Apparently, Guangzhou is considered a tier 1 city.
Yeah, it's a big time. Yeah,
considered on the level of a Shanghai or Beijing.
Yeah, they're big.
So I didn't know that before, but everybody said, like, you know, so just like any other big city, there's a lot of people from everywhere. Just like there's tons of people from everywhere in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's tons of people, and even though Mexico City's in Mexico, there's tons of people from all over Mexico in Mexico City. But you know, just like there's people all over the United States in New York. And then there's all kinds of people from all over the world in New York. There's just, you know, it's just that mix. That's what makes a big city, like, that's what makes the most important cities in the world important, because they're international. And
this phenomenon that you're talking about almost seems to me like a Brexit of like China. You know what I mean? They're having this reaction against foreigners. You know what I mean? And then the government's trying to be like setting more rules and stuff like that. It seems almost like this phenomenon, a very similar social phenomenon, is just going global here.
Yeah, yeah, and that's worrisome. It's always worrisome when people target immigrants. It was the
Yeah.
first thing that the Nazis did. A lot of people don't realize what triggered Kristallnacht in Germany was that the Polish immigrants that were living in Germany were being kicked out. And some of the people there had lived in Germany for 20, 30 years, had businesses, families. They'd never even been to Poland.
Yeah.
But they were considered Polish within the German community, and so they were all rounded up and kicked out. But Poland wouldn't take their people back. So there were people stuck at the border of Poland, all there. And then a woman called her brother, who was going to art school in Paris, and said to him, "This is what they did to us, blah, 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 blah." And he was furious. He went to the consulate, the German consulate, and I guess back in the day, you used to be able to just walk in and talk to the ambassador. And he walked in and talked to the ambassador, and he said, "I am a Polish German from blah, 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 and I'm here to tell you." And takes out a pistol and blam, blam, shoots the guy, right? So he didn't have all his marbles maybe all, lined up, but I'm not condoning violence at all. That's a bad thing that he did. But the pogrom that happened, Kristallnacht, is the pogrom that happened after that, because it was the German government who initiated this thing, and this dude did this as a response, which is bad, which is horrible, but because he did that doesn't justify Kristallnacht. You know what I'm saying? So I'm afraid I don't want to see bad things happen. I'm hearing that like people are getting beaten in the street. That the Africans are getting beaten in the street by certain communities and stuff, and this is really bad. This is bad. So we need to nip this in the bud. We need to get it right, and we need to make sure that if the people can stay, that they're taken care of and they're not going to be targeted. And if they have to leave, then they have time to get their things, that they have travel, that they have a destination, that they get their money out of the banks or wherever they're saving it, that these things are taken care of. They're not just bam, fired, and kicked out.
You know what? I
Some kind of detention center or something like that. We need to make sure that these things are handled in a way that they're not criminalized.
This expanding xenophobia like that, that's like going across communities all across the world. I think it's like a symptom that's being shown across many communities, and it probably is due to like a very a shared there's probably some correlation there amongst those communities, and probably the way they're being impacted by the whole multinational corporate for-profit
Well,
level.
I've heard people say that it's not just the Africans that they're targeting. I've heard people say that it's not just Africans; they're targeting all the foreigners.
Yeah, well, they've had waves where they got rid of other foreigners, right? They definitely had waves of them, but now they're trying to claim that Africans are the reason why this virus is out there. It seems like that's what they're trying to imply. They're just trying to pass the blame and say someone else is guilty,
completely
which is
silly.
ridiculous.
First of all, Africa is the place where has the lowest, probably. But it's just that people think that it's particularly egregious since there are so many Chinese in Africa, and the Chinese are not being treated that way at all.
Nobody cares about facts anymore. It's just about what's politically convenient. They just make it up as they go. It's you can't trust anything. You know what I mean?
But a lot of the folks, people are calling into this guy's show, and they were saying that, I had these problems, and then, explaining their problems and how I got it cleaned up is I called the consulate. And so people are saying, I called the consulate, and that's why certain people were, because at the beginning, people were saying, it's the fault of the African nations, and it's the fault of this, the fault of that. And they're like, how can you blame this on the African nations? And people are saying, my passport is Australian, or my passport is Canadian, or my passport is, European or whatever. And they're saying that when I had a problem, I called the consulate and straightened it out. And
I'm glad I got that, yeah.
Within hours. So that's that the African countries need to start flexing their muscle and saying that, you can't do this. We don't care how much money, and infrastructure you're giving us. You can't do this to our people. That's it. And take a stand,
Yeah.
And so, also, but that it's also, I agree with you that the onus is also on the Chinese government, that if these people just didn't appear there. They were allowed to be there. They went through proper channels to be there. They're not just, people who snuck across the border. It's not like that there. So if they have been given, the ability to stay and the ability to actually come there, then they need to be taken care of by the government.
Yeah.
To make sure that these things aren't.
So is China going through another like COVID thing? Like, is there something else going on over there? Because, like, I thought it was like almost like over for them.
It's almost over.
So why is there like this flare up with this
cases
Guangzhou?
that they're finding are basically from people coming in. The problem what people aren't telling you is that it's actually Chinese returning, bringing it from the other places. They're saying, oh, it's foreigners,
Oh, okay.
it's foreigners. It's people coming in from other places, yes.
But also
it's
Chinese
really
people go everywhere. Yeah.
Nationals returning and
Are
bringing
also
it back
bringing it
with
back.
them.
Yeah. But it can't be us. It's got to be them. It can't be us.
It's China right now,
Yeah.
like basically nobody. You know what I mean? It's not like there's like a bunch of tourist train going in China right now.
Yeah.
It's not really. That's kind of held up right now. You know what I mean? So it's like you said, or like you basically were inferring, it's irrational. And so we need to be, basically the response should not be irrational in return. That the response should be rational and saying, okay, you gotta stop this. Like, this can't. You're setting up a dangerous thing. You're setting up a danger for your people in other places, and that's not good.
I heard China had before. I know like China kicked out like a lot of people from the media, from the country. Are still all the ambassadors there, or did they kick out some ambassadors and consulates too? Everybody's still there.
I'm not sure.
Alright,
not sure.
yeah. All right, so share it in the comments below if you guys know more about the situation. I'm sure there's other people in the web out there. Share. We're interested in learning more about this situation. I'm definitely
And we want to stay on top of it to make sure that it does get handled and not just get forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
As is what happens in American media.
Yeah, just the news cycle, and then
and off to the next thing.
Yeah.
Before it was like such a. That's what I mean about like the impeachment, the whole impeachment scam, charade, puppet show. It's like now it just completely looks stupid.
It'll be like 5,000 jobs were lost, 5,000 people are dying, and now on to the weather. You know what I mean? Like that's really the news of today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so other things are happening in the world.
Yeah.
It's I guess it is right to focus on this problem, but there are other problems happening because of this problem, and the news media need to get their,
well, they've already sold out. They're completely. The news media has been destroyed. There is no more news media.
And they need to be replaced.
Well, supposedly there's a market for it, so we'll be that. If nobody else is going to do it, it's not like this is what I grew up saying. This is what I want to be in my life, but it just seems like there's a need right now. It seems like there's nobody else doing it, so. Just step right in, no problem. I can do it. It's not like I grew up saying I don't want to do this. This is fine. This is cool. Yeah, I like this. Yeah. So
do we want to talk tag team now?
Exactly. I was just about to say that. So tag team. Yeah, we have some new stuff. Once again, we do have our weekly meeting every Sunday. Come and jump in with us. But this new idea. I want you to introduce it, Lisa. I think it was very cool. Yeah. So what's tag going to be doing now? What's one of the latest things?
Well, the first thing, do you want to talk about the name?
Oh, tag. Okay, yeah. So tag was Tulsi Action Group for the longest time. It still exists that way in that name on our Facebook group. It's still facebook.com/group/Tulsi Action Group. But we actually have a new name now. And go ahead, Lisa. I'll let you introduce it.
It's the Taking Action Group.
Still TAG. I like that. Okay.
Some of our frustrations
Yes.
with the campaign was that we felt that not enough action was taken. And so Taking Action Group and our focus is going to be on training people to be more effective in the particular campaigning, their campaigning efforts, and different ways that you can do specific things. We'd like to talk about different campaigning techniques, how to get a candidate on a ballot, how to do tabling, the types of things you need, how to target a particular ethnic or immigrant community.
Yeah, I know you've been working with a lot of campaigns over a long time, right?
Yeah, I'm locally here in California.
Yeah, not just campaigns around Canada, but campaigns around issues as well. So
yes, and campaigns and issues as well. So
yeah,
I worked on the no No GMO campaign here in California.
right.
Or actually, I'm sorry, not No GMO. There was a huge GMO labeling campaign here in California, and then I also worked on the No on 8 campaign, which was a Proposition 8 was basically against gay marriage.
So and you've also worked with not just different, like a variety of campaigns, not just campaign not just candidates and issues, but you've also worked with like local to national level issues and statewide level issues. So you have a nice breadth of range. It's not like she's just like trained in one way, but she has a very good breadth of range for any questions that viewers may have. I also have my own
I learned
experience.
a lot from those campaigns.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
particularly, I always point out the GMO labeling campaign and the No on 8 campaign because we didn't win them.
Yeah.
And what was shocking and it was shocking to us each time. And so to go back and kind of analyze why we lost and what happened kind of showed you that the mechanisms that people respond to you in turn and how they actually defeat something.
Yeah.
Knowing how the other side defeats you can set you up to how to pivot so you can get around that. On the GMO labeling campaign, we had, this will blow your mind, we had 92% of bipartisan approval.
Yeah.
And we still lost, which is insane. It's like, how did that happen? I remember the woman who actually got it on the ballot, Pam, and she was like, we could still lose this. And I just laughed at her. I was like, that's crazy. How are we going to lose
because
this?
the establishment has a lot of games they can play, right? The thing is
what they do is they raise a ton of money. And then they just sit on it until the last 2 to 3 weeks. And then they flood the airwaves and everything, send out all this stuff at the last minute.
Yeah.
And then they and by the way, this was on the statewide ballot, and we had gotten signatures with volunteers.
And people are selling out like crazy.
Over a million signatures, dude.
If you look at the DNC convention, right, like from 2016,
we should not have lost.
Like they were paying people to go in and like reserve 5 to 10 seats to try to keep out Bernie supporters. You get what I mean? The thing is that they've run a lot of these campaigns and they've learned the worst things. Like the thing is that I remember like when we were working for the campaign, a lot of the issues that we had with people who have been formerly working with Democratic campaigns before, because they learned all these horrible, anti-democratic techniques to kind of control people and manipulate them.
Anti-democratic by the DNC.
Well, look, that's another discussion. We probably should have the discussion more in depth about third party versus taking over the Democratic Party, because we should do another episode. I'm so passionate about that subject, but let's stay to the topics now. Yeah, so and actually, the idea that we have is to have the new training videos. I think that's wonderful because I talk to I try to get a lot of college kids involved, and kids more than ever nowadays are taught not to be activists. You know what I mean? They're taught all the wrong things from college administrations as in terms of getting things done. But it's really sad. But so we will actually be part of the new movement, and that's wonderful. So the ballot petitioning and your experience from all the different angles. Another thing that's going to be more difficult for us to teach, right? But when you're in the campaign, right, you're going to see certain things around you and you'll be able to recognize, is this campaign winning or losing? Yeah, so that requires the amalgamation of a bunch of different skills. But what we can do, right, to start you out, and that'll probably be for more advanced people, but in the beginning, right, like how to run a ballot petition, how to, where to get your signs at, how to, effectively do those. Those are great first steps.
Right.
But,
graphics.
Yeah.
Looking at the graphics of different campaigns and how those things were really effective.
Yeah.
And getting that thrown away. So much so that people would wear them everywhere because they thought they were cool.
Yeah. And we're always approaching other
things.
campaigns and other people like Galen, who you mentioned earlier, who you said what
Right.
you were impressed by. I'm also talking to activists out
phone
here.
Banking,
Yeah,
how to phone bank effectively, how to
Yeah.
turn people into volunteers.
exactly.
I would really like to go into like people who know how to canvass
Yeah.
and going door to door skills.
And that's exactly what's unique about this
It's the
channel.
best way.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's the best way to turn people over is going door to door. If you've got the people, look, money buys people power, and that's what it does. When people don't really like you, you can buy it, but you buy the work, you buy people's work, you buy people's time. The thing is that if you've got grassroots people who are willing to do the tabling, who are willing to do the going door to door, then you've got something really going. And I think that that's really important that it always has to be part of a campaign. You have to go door to door. You have to. You have to have people at your teams. Even if you don't do it yourself or if you can't do it yourself, you've got to have people who are doing that on your behalf.
Yeah.
So
now the one thing that I'm just
that's harder now. That's harder now because of what's going on. But
some of the things that I had remember expressing, like some of my reservations about doing this, right? But I do think it's necessary because I don't think that there's really a lot of the other channels you see out there will talk about the issues, but they don't really talk about how to solve those issues, right? They're just like, oh well, this is wrong, you get mad and you fix it, right? But we're going to show you how to fix it, yeah? But the thing is that just from my experiences of teaching others how to do these types of things, a lot of times I found out that the people who I was representing and working really hard for, they kind of allowed me to do a lot of the work, and then what happened was things would fail, for example, or that I would not say or I would say the bad guys picked up the techniques. For example, one of the things was a referendum, right? I was referendum is a very powerful tool that we could use to try to get rid of some of these laws over here that are trying to prevent us from for example, DNC, they didn't give people equal speaking time, right? So we could or you said you're the GMO thing, right? We just want to know if our food's GMO or not. We're not trying to ban the food. We just have a right to know, right? Something everybody could agree with. Right. And then what happened was that, right, because I was doing most of the work, and because of regular people that just don't really care, you know what I mean? Their apathy, it wasn't able to get through. But then guess what happens is the opposition they had a referendum to push it the other way. So they managed to, because they were the establishment, because they had their political machine, they were able to put that into place. So teaching these techniques is a little bit dangerous because sometimes these paid people, right, people who are getting paid by the corporations or people who are against the people's interests, right, will go out and do these things. But what's cool about this is that we're making it free for everybody. So hopefully, right, probably the people who are more interested, who are getting paid, will look at this stuff and use it. But the people who have the true heart, the people that really want it, that you still have a way to get this information. Yeah?
I disagree, because the people who have money they can already buy the people. The people who have money can already buy the people who know how to do all this stuff. And that's their edge. That we don't have the edge because they can't buy the people who know how to do this stuff.
The only way you can learn this stuff is by being in the streets.
If we educate people,
you have to
on
work
how
the
to
streets.
Get this done, we can get people who are interested in running.
I feel you.
Run a great campaign because they didn't know this type of things, and then they can campaign effectively to get things done.
And sadly
power, and you've got the ability, you can do it. There's some local races here in LA that have been
and sadly that did happen during this campaign. Some people
the upsets were amazing.
Some people
most
with
of the time incumbents win, but we want to see something being done.
Some people are recognized with high value skills from 2016 who was working for Sanders. I did see them working with establishment candidates in the cycle, just getting that paycheck, and that was disappointing, but there are some people out there that have done the groundwork that will sell out and go for that, and that's unfortunate. But we will equip everybody, and we know who the reals are. Come talk to us. Our agenda.
And also something like Bloomberg. Look at the people that he bought off.
Some people were loyal, some people weren't.
He did get some.
He still pulled off Samoa. That was.
But he still, he got his ass handed to him even with all the money. He's but the audacity of that, the audacity of thinking not even gonna bother with Iowa or New Hampshire. Buy off all these other places. I don't need them.
He was looking real good for a minute, though. It looked like he was going to do it, though. You know what I mean? It really looked like he was going to do it. It looked like he was like a real serious contender until, he got mopped up. You know what I mean?
Until like people were like, you know what, midget, you go in the corner.
Well, yeah, like, his performance at the debate was horrible. Yeah, but it's so weird that his debate was so bad, right, and was able to destroy him, but Tulsi's debate performance were so good, but they weren't able to help her. You know what I mean? Like, it's so strange because...
I disagree. They were able to help. They helped her immensely. Is that she had the powers that be. Look at Google. Look at how they kept her from. I mean, that's one thing that I hope she sticks with, that whole the Google thing, because they completely disrupted her. She was the most Googled candidate in all 50 states.
Yeah, and that lawsuit.
If you wanted to target them with ad buys, and they wouldn't allow her to do it.
I got to find out when that court date is for here in New York State, like with her versus Hillary Clinton.
Is it in New York?
Yeah, she filed in New York.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. So why would she file in New York? That's weird, right? Like,
I don't know.
she could have filed in D.C. She could have filed in Hawaii. Like, she's got to travel around. But Clinton's offices are in New York. Maybe that's why. Yeah.
But what about the Google one?
She lost that one. They said that because Google's a private company, they don't have to. They could do whatever they want. Yeah, that seems so not legit. You know what I mean? That seems so not legit. And they have Facebook in at the Capitol Hill all the time because of
You have to be. If you're going to be an internet provider and you're going to have a search engine, then you should be considered a utility.
Yeah, they should just take over that. I'm sorry, but they should just... Honestly, that's not even their most successful, their most profitable piece anyways, but they like it because of the political control it gives them. You get what I mean? But they're making money off of selling the ads, not really the search.
Yeah, search is the biggest...
So they should...
Search.
Oh, search, yeah, because of the ad placement, right? Yeah? Search is big because of the ad placement, yeah, so... Yeah, I guess they are tied together. Yeah, oh, man. It's just it does absolutely impact.
Yeah. How is it that people are giving Facebook such shit and then not giving this any kind of news at all?
The thing is that the people are too easily distracted and broken, and just it's not enough. So it's just unfortunate. Yeah. So, oh my God. So. Hopefully we can be a drop in the bucket towards solving these issues over here. You know what I mean? As we're taking action and making it happen and getting people more aware and maintaining some type of focus on certain ideals so they get completed instead of just like, oh, look at this issue over here. Oh, look at that issue over there, and then nothing ever getting done by anything.
One of the things that I think we should make a website and then have some. Have the Zoom, like you record the Zoom thing, and then we can post it to Vimeo or something via Vimeo, and then so.
I'm looking into those alternates as well, yeah.
Because I don't think that, look how many sites they've taken down, look how many things they've taken down. I want to be able to talk about what's going on in China without being...
We could even technically, right, like host the videos on our own servers. You know what I mean? We could just store the videos on our own server, like it doesn't cost a lot for like large amounts of gigabytes. And then just, like when people click on it, just like pays through a VR link. It does, through the browser even. It doesn't have to be, through YouTube.
You have to have the server on 24/7.
Yeah. So hopefully we can be a destination site. We're just going to keep continuing forward. But for right now, the main thing is those videos. Yeah. So also, by the way, if there's anybody else who's out there who's an organizer, who has their own perspective, we want to interview you. You want to bring in your perspective and have you guys join us.
If you would like to class with the rest of us to do certain things or just show people how to get certain things done. And
if you guys have an event coming up, right, like a ballot petitioning coming up, and you're like, oh, this is something that I could use right away or it would be handy, absolutely. We're here to help you guys out with that. So let us know. Just put in the comments below. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think that's what's going on with Tag Group. Is there anything else really for that you want to talk about the Tulsi Taking Action Group for now?
I think we're good.
Okay. So, I made some new openings and closings. You guys will see them in the new videos, of course. So the last topic is really this, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez came up again in the news recently. Okay, so before she was given credit for going against. So we know that there was a bill that was proposed by Tulsi, which was awesome, that everybody just gets $1,000 a month until the end of the crisis. But, they just decided to throw that in the garbage. And came with this new bill that is basically trickle-down economics. They said, we're going to give the money to the small business owners, we're going to give the money to the corporations, and we're going to give $600 to, what is it, $600 to?
$1,200.
$1,200? Why did I hear? Oh,
you only get it once.
Okay, so you're getting $1,200, yeah.
Taxes. So you have to file your taxes. So that's another thing. Trump extended the tax deadline from April to July, but then in order to get the money, you got to file for taxes. So it's like, what the fuck? It's like, oh, you can go buy your 2018 taxes. Well, what if you didn't file your 2018 taxes?
Yeah,
No. I thought that they were going to do it through the census, which would have been smart, and to get people to
being smart. It's not about being smart. It's about like finding a way to get the money back to the government. So the thing is, the cronies. Yeah.
And then they get tapped later. When things go back to normal. I have a new crop of people to.
So AOC gave like some kind of big impassioned speech in front of the House, saying that like this was clearly wrong, which it clearly was. So thank you very much for that, AOC. And then later on, there was like a vote was held, and apparently only some Republican guy was saying like, I want to have them record like who voted for this bill. I remember them doing the same thing during the bailout. Oh, they should just make that crap illegal. If you want to vote for something, you got to have it on the record. This closed voting thing is just cowardice. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But apparently Alexandria on that day did not say anything vocally against the bill. They don't know whether she voted, whether she didn't vote, whether she voted for it, or whether she voted against it. But she has not said that she voted against it, right? She just said she did not support it. Doesn't mean that she didn't vote for it. There's a lot of semantics here, and that's when the warning bells go off.
It's not study for it. Yeah. So I don't understand why they voted for it. I don't get it. Especially since like people wouldn't get the money right away. It's like, I fought for it to be for everybody, and then you fought for it to be, that you wouldn't have to. You fought. You didn't do jack. You could have said no. We're not doing any of no. They could have written their own separate bill and said, unless this bill gets passed along with this and both of them get signed, we're not gonna do it. That's it. He has to pass this first, and then we'll pass the other thing. You have to sign it first.
So, one thing that's
and made it simple that the money just goes to the people. Just one bill, simple bill. Not a bunch of shit on it. Just like the people get this much, they get it.
So
this is simple. Get it within 2 weeks. That's it.
Yeah, and my okay, so. The thing is that, look, I've had like several businesses and stuff like that, right? And I've also been like, kind of like, I guess a decent performer for some of the teams that I've been on. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the thing that happens is when you have that position, all of a sudden everybody tries to get involved in your business and tell you how to run your business, right? Or they try to tell you like how you should play the game. You know what I mean? Oh, you should do it this way, or why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Why don't you just try, right? Because you're the one that gets the attention. You know what I mean? So they want you to do things the way that they think they should do it. You get what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I learned that you can't just, if you do that infinitely, it's just not going to work out. You know what I mean? So I just learned to tune those things out to a certain extent. So the thing is that when I look at these politicians like Bernie, who've been doing it since the 90s, and he has a pretty good track record, let's be honest, right? You look at AOC, and generally when she first came in, she's pretty impressive. Yeah, like she's being we're looking at some parts that we can criticize, that's true, but overall, right, I think she's pretty cool. Right, Tulsi, I think she's pretty cool, right? But I think that once they get in, they need like kind of like they're willing to fight for us, because who wouldn't, right? We all want to do it too, right? But then they kind of need the backing from us as well, right? The fact that Tulsi only got like 1% puts her in political jeopardy, I think. You know what I mean? I think that she might have damaged her brand actually, and she might be like on her way out. She's definitely in a dangerous spot right now.
She isn't running again.
Yeah, like who knows what's gonna happen, right? She might run for Senate, she might not. Who knows? You know what I mean?
I think that she'll run for Senate, and I think that she'll win. And then I think she wants to be in a position that she's a lot more. And if she runs and wins, because she's still very popular in Hawaii.
You know, the establishment
And,
will just do they'll pump millions.
yeah, but she'll be one of
Millions.
100 instead of one of 400 and something, you know?
Okay.
She'll be very powerful. She'll be, being a senator, you have a lot of power.
That Samoa business made me really like, that
She'll be
shows
able
me
to
that she's,
yeah.
yeah. How can you lose Samoa? You know what I mean? That's yikes. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. But either way, right, you don't have to, like, I said in other things, right, the other people have changed the world, like Martin Luther King Jr., you know, he wasn't a president. You know, Malcolm X wasn't a president. You know what I mean? You don't have to have that title. It helps. But, you know, you can still be great. So,
I think that we shouldn't count Tulsi out. I think that maybe she'll take a breather, you know, but I do think she'll come back as a senator. And I also think that we need people to, I think that we need, you know, they don't like her because she doesn't, you know, follow their game. She doesn't follow their game.
So, but the thing is, right, we see all of the most powerful players, right, the AOC, the Tulsi, the Burning, right, we see them all, even the Warren, right, we see them all bowing their heads, every single one of them. Is it because, right, I mean, also remember we thought that maybe AOC might be nervous because of the restructuring of the districts and she might not be an incumbent anymore, making her feel politically vulnerable. You get what I mean? So we take these all into the account and the equation and say,
He's not running for Congress again.
No, I meant AOC. Right? So remember, like, yeah, so, like, you know, she may be feeling vulnerable, so she's trying to keep everybody happy. You know what I mean? That's why she's saying something now. So the thing is that we have to look at it from their perspective, right? Maybe also their perspective has, like, a little bit more justification than we allow for as in terms of, like, why they're making these deals. But also, right, like, I still remember everything. You know what I mean? So I feel like maybe, like, you know, it's a little bit too... you know, I think that she has the right to say she didn't support the bill because she didn't make that speech, which was kind of, like, aired. But yeah, you know, could she go harder? Yeah, you know what I mean? I think that it's good for people like us to put that pressure there and to have that in the conversation, which the MSM will never, ever repeat because it's heresy, yeah? So, I just want to put... So, I feel like... I don't feel as critical of AOC as... I feel like the latest stuff puts out. You know what I mean? I do think that, like, I don't agree 100%, but I'm not ready to throw her. I feel like there's a lot of other people that deserve to go under the bus first. You get what I mean? And I feel like we're...
I don't think that we should be throwing her under the bus, but the thing is that this was sort of a defining moment. It was kind of like, you know, we have to be able to get...
I feel both ways about it, yeah. We have to hold her accountable, number one. But also I feel like we got to have her back, too, because I feel like she's, like, one of the few. Yeah.
Kyle Kulinski and Cenk Uygur was, you know, saying, you know, that, you know, oh, we need to primary these guys. It's like,
hell yeah.
It's like, you know how the Matrix, the people who aren't unplugged can become an agent? Yeah. And they just get absorbed and then they turn into, like, and that's basically what it is, you know, they get turned into, you know, another little bot. And yes, I get the political, I
think a lot of discussion actually would go into, like,
in her political maybe vulnerability. The thing is that she got her votes from the people. She didn't get her votes from the corporations. She didn't get
right. And also she's a number one fundraiser right now.
For her.
And she's a big time fundraiser.
So where's fear? Where's the fear?
So she should have the political clout, right? Yes, she should have the political clout to be able to do what she wants to do.
Like, oh, she's over fundraised everybody. She's over fundraised. She hasn't lifted a finger. She isn't dialing for dollars at all. It's like, yeah,
so
that's
let's. If you was AOC, right?
Money.
So let's think about
Who is this money coming from? Why is she doing? She's like, that's the problem.
Exactly.
I don't care where the money comes from. The fact that you have to have that in order to win is ridiculous instead of people power. I think you can win with just people power. I've seen it happen, and it's happening here too.
Well, I want to keep watching what's going. Yeah, exactly. So I want to keep watching what's going on. Does AOC have people power? It seems like she might have some. Why is she choosing to make this particular compromise
Well, you're
at this time?
you're in New York. You have
Yeah.
friends. You probably have friends who live in Queens.
Yeah.
What are they saying?
So
How do they feel about AOC in New York?
okay, overall, because of the people that I hang out with, is more kind of it can be looked at from different angles. So the people that I hang with, they're more kind of like progressive in values, I guess you could say more, right? So, but even amongst them, right, a lot of them do also kind of have this kind of like anti-establishment bias. And it's kind of funny because the anti-establishment bias turns them against AOC, who's considered to be anti-establishment, but because she's already has a position, they consider her to be some type of establishment. Yeah? But the people, okay, but when you go into the district where she's from, Jackson Heights, which is actually where I used to live, okay, and I'm hanging out in there, it's a largely immigrant community of mostly Indians and Hispanic people, yeah, with a large influx of Colombians and Mexicans, Ecuadorians, yeah. So the thing is that because of being Latino,
No Puerto Ricans?
being
No Puerto Ricans?
huh?
No Puerto Ricans?
Puerto Ricans, not Jackson Heights is not known for large Puerto Rican community. That would be more like Lower East Side, things like that. Like our particular enclave in that particular area right there happens to have more of that particular, ethnicity, right? Like if you go to Greenpoint, it's Polish, right? You might be like white, you know what I mean? But no, it's actually Polish. Like you don't really see the Italians in Greenpoint so much. So yeah, so in that community though, like remember there's a large Latin population. So the Latino people like have a lot of love for AOC because she's one of them that made it. You get what I mean? But then there's also a large Indian population. They don't necessarily have that same tire connection. Yeah, so there's kind of like this duality in that population. Also, a lot of the people there that do vote, like New York City especially, is very corrupt and very establishment controlled. So the thing is that the locals, like businesses and like that type of like that whole business improvement district, like that whole like block of people, that machine is not for her. You get what I mean? And that's pretty powerful because those are the ones who do actually vote. So her getting primary is a very real possibility. You know what I mean? Because the way she came up, right, the weaknesses that allowed her to come up are the same weaknesses that also impact her ability to get reelected. You see what I mean? But also with the districts changing, it's all up in the air now because she may no longer. She's actually, I remember hearing stuff before that she was looking to move her district. You get what I mean? Because she's concerned about it. And you heard that?
What? What?
I remember reading somewhere. Look, maybe I don't get it right, but I looked before that she was thinking about like because I think they are redrawing the district. Yeah. So I know that she's I think she's already like set to be running. I know there's a couple people running against her, with a lot of backing, by the way, too. Yeah. So she's under those pressures as well.
So much support, man. She has so much. Like in California, she's like a little star. So like that, she has a lot of support. And I have to tell you something about California and LA. So like the Silicon Valley too. People come to California for money. Like we don't, after the primary, we never see these candidates again. They never come back to California because it's always, because they figure it's going to turn blue no matter what. So they don't come back. The only time they come, Trump, Obama, all of them, the only time they come is for money. Because they get money here, Hollywood, Silicon Valley. So, it's the same. I mean, every film that's made all over, well, I shouldn't say all over the world, most of the films that are made in the world, even, or I would say Canada and certain places,
have
a tendency to funnel through LA. And the reason why is because they always have to meet with money people. So, yeah.
So, I mean, just to summarize my thought on the whole AOC thing, I mean, I do understand where, some of the criticisms come from. Like, I think that they are, legit. But I also feel like it's, I don't feel 100% comfortable with it either. You know what I mean? I feel like AOC has, she did make the speech saying that it was wrong. You know what I mean? So I think she has some basis to make that claim. So, I get both sides. That's where I stand on it. So that's my take on the controversy for it. But I am concerned about. I do see the left folding more nowadays. I feel like because of the campaign,
I don't get it at all.
Yeah. Well, I feel like they lost. They lost their political.
Because the Republicans are going to the left of their Democratic Party, and Nancy Pelosi is really a fucking she's like a Nazi, man. Just like they want to give us austerity. They want to make us into the Greeks.
Because I think that they lost faith in the base. You know what I mean? They don't think that they're going to.
The faith of what?
They don't think that. Yeah, I think that as supporters, we have to be more hardcore. We have to be more pushing harder. But too many people just complain and think that these people are going to fix the whole things all by themselves. We have to give the pressure to allow them to finish off.
We had a guy here, one of our representatives from Congress, Kevin De Leon.
Okay.
He ran against Dianne Feinstein. Okay. So it was like a 45% to 55% win for Feinstein. Okay, that's the biggest that she's ever faced in a long time. So shortly after that, she did this little finger wagging thing. I don't know if it was national news, but it was news out here. She did this little finger wagging to a bunch of kids, like a group, like a school group, coming and saying that they're lobbying for and this was before Greta Thunberg, whatever her name is, lobbying for climate change and for them to do something. And she comes out there wagging her finger and saying, "I know what I'm doing. You don't know what you're doing." So this is before the whole Greta Thunberg thing. Feinstein was a former prison warden, and that's how she treats everybody. And so, enough with that. Enough. We've got to vote. If we don't vote these people out, what we have to do is go with the people who are doing our issues. You know what? I applaud Trump for going around the DNC and going to the left of DNC. I say let's push him as left as we possibly can. If we can't get Medicare for all from the DNC, maybe we can get Trump to institute. He already gave you Medicare for all when it comes to COVID-19.
So if we take the argument right there, right, then we have to be able to say, right.
If we can get Trump, by pushing him, trying to push him left, and get him to say, okay, all cancer patients, all heart attack patients, and all COVID-19 patients get Medicare for all. It gets paid through Medicare, and everybody gets covered from now on.
So wait a second. I bring it back. I want to bring it back to this all into the.
Now,
I want to bring this back into the perspective of the AOC thing. You know what I mean? Because we're going off into Trump, but the thing is that, right? You're saying that the way to force them is to control the votes. So if this is a negotiation between us and AOC, right? AOC, we want you to make these stands. Then we as voters have to say that if you do this, we can guarantee that these votes will not go your way, or if you do this, we will reward you by providing these votes for you. We have to be able to provide them the backing. But the establishment, But honestly, is AOC right to say, right?
Corrupted. They're all so corrupted. They all get it's like it's the matrix.
Because, look at what, but look, are they right to be scared?
And then they're Nancy Pelosi, and then they're Dianne Feinstein. They just change.
Look at them. They're right to be scared, right? Look at what they did to Tulsi and got away with it. They can shut off the Google, They can obviously shut you out of debates. They can do all this blatantly unfair stuff. They can have election fraud, and the people in the nation are not going to stand up and really say, what is this, and flip those voting booths and charge those things and say, this is ridiculous, we're not allowing this. They just say, oh my God, I can't believe this, and then just let it happen. So if that's all the backing that they'll get from the people, if the people will not fight for themselves, then the candidates should not. I don't think, I think the candidates are doing pretty good. AOC and Bernie and Tulsi, I think they're doing a pretty good job. But if they don't have that backing, you know what I mean? I'm not asking a kid to go in there and fight a heavyweight prize fighter. You know what I mean? You're just asking them to get beat up.
Not getting enough notice for.
Huh?
Rashida Tlaib, see notice for. Ilhan Omar.
Yeah.
And she's doing good. She's doing all right. But
So yeah, I agree. I like,
you know,
like
she
we could
doesn't
say
think
they're
that
doing
should
good, they're doing bad, whatever. But in the end, how do we get them to do what we want? We have to be able to
I will say this. I
negotiate.
will say this. Okay, issues, because we like what we're doing is we're making our we're making things harder for ourselves. We're saying that, okay, we want this done, so we're gonna work like hell to get this person elected. So then they'll have to work at this instead of us straight lining it as the issue itself.
Yeah,
So
but yeah,
the reason why everybody wants Bernie is because Bernie said Medicare for all. The reason why everybody wants, Tulsi is because no regime change wars.
well,
The
that's
reason why,
that's a
and what we need to
simplification,
do
but
is
really,
find that,
right?
is find,
There's gonna be
find
other
the
parts. Yeah,
cornerstone of that building, right?
yeah.
And see for it. We need to like snip the seam that makes everything rip apart. We need to get at the crux of that. So if we pass
Okay.
a law here in California saying if you are holding a debate, everybody's got to be on stage. If you've got to get equal time. And even if the equal time laws were just in the major city or the state, if it's in one state, others will follow suit. And if it comes to California, forget it. Everybody will do it.
Okay, wait, so
So
what's your take on the
that's
AOC situation? Is it
like I said,
you
if we
agree with it,
can
you don't
push
agree with
Trump-
it,
if we
or are
can
we
make
talking about this
Trump-
Trump thing?
Push them left and get
Okay.
those things. The three biggest killers in America right now: Medicare. Cancer. Heart attacks, cancer, and COVID-19. So if we can get those three things covered by Medicare for all, basically we've got catastrophic insurance for everyone.
Well, Medicare for all would just cover everything for everybody,
So
right?
that's
Yeah.
if we could get Trump to get to the left of that, if we could have him cover all cancer, all heart attacks, then across the board.
Yeah, but
with
now we're
Medicare
completely
payments,
flipping to something
then
else, right?
that
Because
gives
before,
the entire United
yeah,
States
before we're talking about
catastrophic
AOC,
insurance.
right? We're talking about
Basically,
AOC selling us out as in terms of like the bill, saying like where the money's
How are
going to
we
go, and now we're
there's a
completely
larger
flipping to
issue
Trump
than
talking about
AOC,
COVID,
than
which is completely separate.
There's a larger issue than AOC. Is
Okay.
How do we keep these candidates from being corrupted? How do we
Oh,
keep
okay.
that from happening?
Yeah.
It's
So-
hard. It's hard.
Well, that's not. We need to come with a more solid plan than it's hard. You get what I mean? So
I think the way that
in
we
the
do
end,
it
it's those
is we
votes,
start
right? That's what
changing
you
these
said.
laws locally, and we're doing it.
Okay.
I can tell you what's happening here in LA. We had the police commission fighting us, and the sheriffs fighting us tooth and nail to get subpoena power, to actually have teeth, to actually go against these bad cops and bad deputies, and
Right.
and so. We've been trying the politicians to do the right thing, the state to do the right thing, and they're not. They're not. We're getting like the wimpiest. We're like behind fucking Texas. Okay, so they're not doing anything. So
Okay,
what
wait.
So one of the organizations here
Yeah.
put it to the ballot, but they didn't do it statewide. They just did it in LA County, but we're the largest county
So
in the state.
So how does this
So
apply to the current situation?
Check the
So
county-
you're trying to say that we should pass
county,
local
check
laws
the
to
state,
convince
and then
AOC?
it'll go national.
Well, that doesn't make
What's that?
okay. That doesn't because what you're trying to say is that we should pass local laws to make AOC to pressure AOC to not to actually vote
What I'm saying is
against
that we can't
the.
pressure AOC. What I'm saying is that she's not listening to the people anymore because she's worried about keeping her job, because she likes the press and the this and that. And that's me being kind of harsh. But the fact of the matter is that, she didn't have the balls. She was giving Tulsi the lecture on leadership. She needs the lecture on leadership. Sometimes being a leader means standing alone.
Well, yeah, but the press is kind of like the press is a tool, and this political thing, not necessarily looking at it like a game, but that's so. The press should be utilized in certain ways to achieve one's
Let me
goals.
put it this way.
Yeah.
She gets such
There was
a spotlight,
hypocrisy,
right? Now see Tulsi, they don't get a lot of coverage, but she does. She gets constant coverage. So if she voted no on it, then she could have gone back when everything goes south and people start complaining about they're not getting their checks, or they're hungry, or they can't rent, she could say, this is what I was talking about. This is what I was talking about. This is what I was talking about. She could have hammered it home to the point where there would have to been another bill to correct that stuff.
Yeah, I can't be satisfied. I can't be satisfied with that. I can't be satisfied with that because the thing is, it doesn't make sense to me yet. What does she have to gain from saying yes to that bill or from not really being more publicly against it? Her base, right, wants her to do this, right? So by playing nice, right, she has to get something posted. What is she getting, though? That's what I want to know more specifically, what she's getting. What do you think she's getting? Is she going to get more support for her? Yeah, and we have to understand what... Well, we could just focus on what we're getting, right?
Yeah. Of an AOC if she doesn't do anything for us, dude.
Okay, so, okay, so easy. Okay, so easy. So look, I'm coming this from a business owner perspective. You get what I mean? The thing is that the customer comes in and says, what about what I want? What about what I want? What about what I want, right? But it's got to be equal for both sides. You see what I mean? So AOC has something she wants. We got to give her what she wants to get what we want. We can't just say, oh, you got to do what we want all the time. So the thing is that wait, let me finish, okay? Let me finish. Can I finish? Yeah, can I finish? So the thing is that, right? As out here, we should be able to control the votes. So that's the deal, right? You do what we want, we give you the votes. You don't do what we want, we don't give you the votes. You see what I mean? So the thing is that, right, we can't just say, oh, well, just do what we want, and we're not gonna, we might not even show up at the polls because we're just too lazy or we just have other things to do. You get what I mean? So right here we could say, oh, you're wrong, right? And then what? And then she's wrong, and then we just go to the next day. If you really say she's wrong about this, then what kind of real repercussions, what kind of real consequences will you enforce on her, right? Just saying she's wrong, is that all you're going to do? If that's it, then I don't really see the value in it. You get what I mean? If we have to be able to negotiate, we have to pull something out from our end. So, like, if she doesn't do it, like, what are we going to start a campaign to start attacking her? We could do that, right? We could say, look, we're going to contact 5,000 people and tell them that AOC is the wrong choice because she made this particular move. And say, like, that is the real life consequences instead of just saying, we're going to just say that you're bad on this podcast, which might be viewed by a couple hundred people. You know what I mean? We need to go harder. We need to have real trades. You know what I mean? That's what seems to me.
Is more austerity. What we're going to get is austerity measures. We're not going to get people doing these things. What we're going to get is austerity measures, and that's what the DNC is pushing. And
that's why they win again and again and again. So how do we change it so we do win?
For being smart enough to go left as opposed to right.
So how is your plan, right, different from what we've done before, and why does it give us a route to success? We need to examine.
The plan for who?
The plan for dealing with AOC, right? The thing is that AOC, right, like I feel like her current strategy is defensible.
What AOC proved with that vote is that she can be a Republican.
It hasn't even been proven how she voted, or if she voted at all. She might have not voted. She might have voted for it. She might have voted against it.
I just saw that Jimmy
It's looking like she didn't vote against it.
That she did vote for it.
The evidence was in the House of Representatives the fact that she did not openly speak, but there was no actual physical evidence that let me see that she voted one way or another, and there is no confirmation. It's only from the video that was presented. She did not openly say that it was bad just before the vote took place, even though she did say something that was bad about it weeks before. And when you know what I mean, and that's the totality of their evidence, and that she has never said. She only said she did not support it. She did not say that I voted against it. That's the totality of the evidence. That's not enough evidence for me to say that she voted for it. Maybe she just didn't vote for it. You know what I mean?
Bullshit doesn't beat my kid. Your bullshit doesn't beat my...
I agree. I'm not really happy about the way she's not being more open or honest with it. I agree. She should be saying just honestly whether she did it or not. You know what I mean? And the fact that she's acting this way from someone who I thought was fearless, right, is also something that should, I think, be more examined. Look, Lisa, you think that I'm pretty fearless. I think you're pretty fearless, right? Yeah?
Tulsi is fearless.
Yeah?
Tulsi is the fearless one.
So, yeah, exactly, right? She's been to a couple wars, like faced death, like buried hundreds of bodies, right? and she actually.
Tulsi is the person who will not go along with the herd.
Yeah.
With the ridiculousness of bullshit.
Well, she does she does by being part of the Democratic Party, though.
How much money and how much time should have been spent us doing something to prevent what's going on right now?
I agree. But she's part of the Democratic Party, and she understands that to get access to some of the base, she's got to sign a contract that says that she will support the eventual Democratic nominee. You know what I mean? Like that's part of the deal. So like I understand that deal. And I'm not really I think a lot of other people understood that deal. They don't like it when the consequences have to be paid. But, that was a deal that was accepted back then. And we have to just stay true to now. But let's just stay to the issue, which is our three, right? Initially, people watched our thing, right? And what's going to happen is they're going to see us go all over the place. They want to see us, I think they want to see us stick to the three original topics, which was number one, right? Number two, number three. The third one being the AOC recent thing and our basic take on it. So my basic take is, your basic take is you don't agree with her. You think that she's wrong. That's fine. There's nothing. That's a cool take. My take is that I see both sides of it. Yeah, I don't necessarily like the way that she's hedging around this stuff, but I think she does have a defensible position because she did actually say something against it. So I think that's.
And you like the pretty girls.
Well, that helps, yeah, but that's not a crime. Like that, at least I can admit it. You know what I mean?
What do the people get? What do the people get? Zip again? Okay, all right.
So the thing is, right? Like on that part, right? And from there, right, we started to talk about our. So I think it's defensible. You think it's not, but I do agree. We do have some of agreement as in terms of something occurred that was wrong, whereas she's not being entirely forthcoming, right? So then we're talking about, so then our discussion developed towards how we can address that issue, because we have something we don't like that she's doing. So how can we get where we want to go? So we started talking about voting and people, how the Republicans are moving to the left of the Democrats. So what that's implying is that, right, that they are becoming a better value proposition for the people who are voting out there. So they're going to vote for the Republicans instead of a Democrat, including AOC. Sure, I'm on board with that. You know what I mean? But I think as voters, we also have to hold AOC accountable and give her more reasons to do what we want. Look, what do you think happens when because I've been in those types of positions where I've been in in leadership positions. So let's pretend that I'm AOC and I go into the meeting with Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi says, "Hey AOC, you've been this great star. You're making all this money. Blah 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 blah. Now they're doing this redistricting. I know you're worried about your position. There are certain things. You saw what we did to Tulsi Gabbard. You saw what we did to Bernie Sanders. It's not me personally, AOC. I'm telling you, I'm just Nancy Pelosi. Blah blah blah. I'm sorry to tell you this, but if you continue on your current path, there's going to be a lot of money that you already see millions of dollars being raised against you in your upcoming fight. I know what you want. It's not necessarily what I want, but if you want to stay in this game." You know what I mean? You don't have to take my word for it, but just make your own decision about what's going on here. So this is what you get from the corporations. If you don't go along with this particular thing, if you stay quiet, I can guarantee that X amount of $1 million will go towards campaign. X amount of $1 million will not go towards negative ads towards you. You will get X amount of votes. Oh, but the people out there, right, they're saying you're doing what's wrong, right? But those people give you nothing. They are not saying if you go with our way, right, Nancy Pelosi is saying you're going to get 2,000, 4,000 votes and $1 million, right? What are you saying? We're just saying do the right thing. If we could say, if you don't, because you did that thing, well, here's 4,000 votes that we're going to say is not going to you. You know what I mean? You want to play this game? Yeah? You think Nancy Pelosi got your back? We got numbers too. We got money too. You know what I mean? We'll shut your donations off. We will put out a campaign to shut those things off. So she's threatening with stuff. We're threatening with stuff. Go our way. We know you want to do it with us anyways. You get what I'm saying? You see the different approach? You see the difference?
So what do you think that we should do? Get rid of
I
Pelosi? We'll run against Pelosi and beat her.
I would rather have more.
California.
Yeah. Okay. Rather than just saying get rid of AOC, right? I would rather develop a political way to enforce what we want in measurable ways. Because if I'm a businessman, I say, look, if you do what I want, I have certain laws I want passed. I can give you $10,000. I can give you X amount of hours. I can donate this amount of time for you. This is what you physically get. This is what you're getting. This is the deal. You know what I mean? If you don't do that, I guarantee you I will take my money and give it to your competitor. Do not fuck with me. $10,000.
You're gonna lose. You're gonna lose it anyway. Look, people gave money to her competitor, and he lost. He was asked out.
So AOC, right? Yeah.
Here's the thing.
So AOC has Nancy Pelosi in her ear, right?
Please listen.
Okay.
It's time periods just like these that the people finally get what they want. In 1968.
Are we getting what we want? We're getting shafted like never before.
People are being fucking shot, like, Malcolm X, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King. It's like people went bananas. There were riots, all kinds of stuff. Watch riots right here in LA. It's like, what happened? What did we get in 1969? Medicare.
Okay.
When shit goes bad, real bad, they have to placate you. And the thing is that what's the point in her voting for that? Now all it gives people is no hope. And what happens when people have no hope? Like their biggest champion fucking capitulated. And when they have no hope, people lose their shit.
So
here's
the situation. Right? I'm here. I'm AOC, right? And I got Nancy Pelosi over here, right? And I got you over here on one side. I got Nancy Pelosi over here saying, yo, like, honestly, if you got this vote right here, if you don't vote for this shit, like, $10 million not going to go to your campaign. We're going to have this negative attack mounted at you. You're going to be out, and we got this other stuff going. And then you got Lisa on the other hand saying, people out to lose their shit. You know what I mean? Like, you got to just vote this way because you got to do right by the people. So I'm AOC, and I want to do the right thing, but I definitely see, right, like, here's the consequences. I want to do the right thing. This is what's going to happen.
The Republicans get it. The Republicans get it that people are going to go bananas.
They're also. I wouldn't.
Normally, we wouldn't have ever gotten even shit for that. What do we get? What did we get during the 2000s?
I think the Republicans also play the corporate game. Republicans also play the corporate game.
Out, and millions upon millions of people. Look, this was like ground zero. California was ground zero for people losing their homes. I was in foreclosure. I worked in foreclosure defense. We had clients that had the sheriffs come in and take their sleeping children out of their beds and put them on the lawn.
Okay, wait a second. Can I say? Okay, so you're talking about people. Wait. So
when you have representatives like AOC who don't fucking do their job.
So.
And nobody's gonna stand for it anymore, Ed. People are gonna.
Okay. No, you don't understand what I'm saying. Yeah.
I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying let's play the game a little bit more. Let's.
Am I? Play the game more? Are you? Play the game. We have to be playing. We have to get the pieces in order. You see what I mean? Well, maybe not. You know what I mean? But honestly, if I was AOC, like that whole kids are out there sleeping on the cold. Yeah, she actually made those arguments. That's the exact things that she said in front of the 2 weeks ago. Aren't those the types of things that she said about the bill and that nobody else said? Isn't she the one who said those things?
I know it, but then why vote for it?
Who said she voted for it? Where's the proof? I never saw that proof. I saw that she just before the vote happened, she did not speak out against it, and she never said she voted against it. She only said she did not support it. But she didn't say she voted for it either. So I do not accept that as proof yet. That she voted for it. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to be fair. You know what I mean? Maybe she did. I'm not saying she didn't either. But I don't have any proof that she did it yet either. Maybe she just voted present. And I do see the hypocrisy there, 100%, just like you. But, you know what I mean? In the end, though, I think that, like, these politicians want to do the right thing, but we as organizers need to give them more backing. The streets are going crazy. We have to pass this thing. You know what I mean? Instead of saying, oh, I only got 1% or 20% of the total votes out of your established base. I basically don't have the votes or anything to really make anything really critical happen to you or to anybody else within this party. All I have is a bunch of people who are just insisting about how they're victims and how much suffering is going on, when other people are also complaining about how much they're suffering, but they have millions of dollars. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I
So, I mean, that's cool. I mean, it was a definitely heated talk about like AOC. You know what I mean? But yeah. I mean, to be the one person that actually said things against the bill, you know what I mean? I don't know. They should just be voting in Tulsi's bill, by the way. But to be the one person who said things against the bill, right? And then nobody else did anything, and then for her to get all the weird critical blame, I think there's pent up anger from other things she's done too. But on this particular one issue,
supportive of everything good
Yeah.
and not be supportive of everything bad. You know?
Yeah.
But it's like this sort of gamesmanship.
I think Bernie's more to blame here, right? Because Bernie's the one who's telling people to vote for it. You get what I mean? She just, you know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of worse, man, to vote for it. Come on, man. And then to bill it as a victory. But it's, yeah. Well, yeah, so that's my take on the whole situation, on the AOC situation. Yeah? So, either way. All right, so.
Gross.
I think that a lot of these topics actually also fit into the topic of the third party discussion thing. You know what I mean? Because the power of the candidates versus the party. That'll be cool for another discussion, another third party reality.
I agree with like a lot of your third party stuff. I've heard people talk about third party things, and I think that there should be like an avenue that we're working on that, or maybe people should run independent so they're not stuck in the primary ghettos, you know.
Yeah.
But political primary ghettos. But I think that doing like I see what's happening here in California, where we're passing initiatives not statewide, but countywide. So we don't have to have as much money. We don't have to have as much signatures. We can do it by grassroots and get things on the ballot. And then, I don't know if you know this, how it works here, but if you get something passed for a county here, what the county can do is decide to adopt it as an ordinance that the supervisors will support.
No, actually, I think that really lines up.
That, and so it won't go to a vote. But the problem with that is that when they decide to and have the votes, because the supervisor, I mean, I don't know if you know how many people are in Los Angeles County, but there's over 10 million people in Los Angeles County. It's massive. And there's only 5 supervisors. So like each supervisor is like 2 million people. It's insane. You have an incredible outsized amount of influence. So if they decide to turn something around, it just takes a vote of 5 people. So that's the reason why we said thanks, but no thanks, and then we took it to a vote and we won. And so it's basically putting the whole rest of the state, including our state assembly, on notice. It's like, you know what, we'll change all this shit in the biggest county in LA. I mean, and the biggest county in the state of California, and there's nothing you can do about it after you. So it's like, it's kind of telling the state, legislators that you guys are behind the ball. This is what the people want. And, eventually we get these votes, we get this stuff in place. Guess what? Your history. This is seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and your end days. So they've been put, it gives them notice so now we realize, okay, we want this for our county. We need to start turning the county over. And the county, trust me, that the supervisors get it. The supervisors, all right, you got all those signatures. It took 60,000 signatures for us, but it's not 1 million signatures, which we had put on the statewide ballot. But we still got something major done.
That's cool. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Doing these specific things, knowing stuff that you can slip in, that we can get grassroots stuff, that we can make major changes, get that freaking Rubik's Cube turning, to get all that stuff going. That's the kind of stuff I want to do, because we've got to circumvent these people. So when people like AOC let us down, we got other avenues to get stuff done.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. The contingencies, hell yeah.
Yeah,
we know all about that.
It just shows we can't rely on these people. They're going to screw us over because they want their small little pots of power. And the thing is, we have to say no. The power's with the people. And so the states, we need to find out which states have the initiative process, these referendums, and then the referendum process. And then we need to start working within those states to start to change these laws. That's how Colorado did it. They did it. That's how they got, medical marijuana, and that's how they got recreational marijuana passed through the referendum process, because there's no politician that would have the balls to actually get that passed.
Exactly. So, and that's really cool for our upcoming.
This in New York? Do you have that in New York?
I haven't really investigated that recently because I've been working on other things. But yeah, I've used referendums in other things. And I know that's a very powerful tool. And I even mentioned once that unfortunately, like some of these tools that I've used to instruct other people have been used by establishment figures later on, because I was fighting for certain things and they would never have thought to research this stuff or do this homework on their own. But then because I enacted this stuff, right, I didn't have the backing that I needed to make it complete through. So as soon as they got rid of me, right, because they found a way to get rid of me eventually because I didn't have enough backing, then what happened was that they used the referendum to push through the most horrible cutbacks to to handicap people, and it was ridiculous. They just made all the cutbacks and they used the referendum to do it. You're spinning a new narrative of how they need the money for other things. It was disgusting, and that's an unfortunate reality of what we're going to have to face, right? A lot of bad political actors are going to come in and try to interface with us and use our resources and use it to make profit themselves. They're going to start their own companies and sell their services to these political, companies that have no concern. But hopefully we will connect with a few people out there that want to have the right vision and goals in mind, and we can be a free resource to enable them.
Well, I can tell you this. There's all kinds of people that try to get petitions signed to get stuff on the ballot.
Yeah.
And they pay for people to do it too, and they don't even meet the signature stuff. So it's not, now people are being a little more scrutinizing as to what they'll sign on petitions, as far as what they'll vote for.
Building a network of maybe like 20,000-30,000 could be like a huge just jumpstart. If you have thousands of people that are just ready to go, just to automatically push it in. Bloomberg on day one, he had his petitions done on day one. He just had such a large network of employees and former political machine from being the mayor. Yeah. We have to build that and have that intact, because that's what the establishment has. So if we're going to take them on, we need to have at least something, in some equivalent form to be fighting. We can't just say that we're right. Who else was right? The American Indians. What happened to them? They're all dead. You get what I mean? Being right is not enough. We must have strategy, and we must understand the issue in full. Why are all these people falling? It's not just enough to say they're wrong. We have to understand why they're failing. You know what I mean? And all the parts of the equipment. So, look, once again, I'm not completely with AOC here, but I just, I am also trying to understand why she's making decisions which I think are uncharacteristic and weird. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, look, I'm not trying to be on the fence with her.
We need to keep pushing back, saying how bad it is, and really get them to, or maybe even get her to write something else, write another bill, and start getting support for it to help people out more.
Yeah.
Because,
or push the Tulsi bill. Yeah.
That's right now that's just it's not doing it, and we're not. Everything, at least coming from California, everything's been put in a state of pause. So people aren't completely freaking out. But I think that the major freak out will probably happen when we get let out again, because then everybody's going to be expecting their money.
So thanks for checking us out. I'll see you guys on the next one, all right?
Thank you, everybody.
All right, see you. These videos are independently produced and funded, and your support is deeply appreciated. Liking the video and subscribing helps the channel, and ringing the bell icon will keep you notified as to when we upload new content. You can also check out our other social media platforms. We'd love to hear from you. We also have our event calendar, links in the description. On our Reddit, you can come in and get on the conversation and check out some of the memes. Like and share, it really helps us in the YouTube algorithm. Every week on Sunday, we have a live online meeting where you can join us in working to create and nurture the change that we need. I'd like to invite you to check out some of our other videos. Until next time, may all your actions bring you success. Stay focused, stay strong, and reinvest in yourself as well as your community. Together, our efforts can be greater than the sum of the parts. The power is in your hands. Thanks for watching.